What's up, Applied English? Mr. Hantak is back to start day 2 of Applied English. Back in day 1, you guys learned about the 5 English skills and read through our syllabus to get a feel for how we're going to be practicing those throughout the semester. I want to use the first part of this lesson to walk through parts of that syllabus together, just to get a better understanding of some of the trickier spots about this class. Real talk, this is take 2 of this video. I tried to do this before and I was going a little bit too slow. The video was going long, so I'm going to try to do a better job of keeping this video short. The second part of this lesson today will be a bit longer, so I just want to make sure that I am respecting your time here. First of all, if you haven't tackled the do first activity for this day, please do so. This little blue puzzle piece is the type of material we'll be using for quizzes and tests in Applied English, at least while we're online. So I want you to get a feel for what quizzes and tests are like. Please note that you can take this do first activity up to 3 times. So if you didn't score perfectly the first time or even the second time, feel free to take it up to 3 times to get a better score. It's a good idea to look at your results if you missed a question or 2, and then study up on those questions in your syllabus before you take it again. I'm going to walk through our agenda real quickly here, and then we'll look at the syllabus together. 2 objectives today. These are largely going to be part of the next part of our lesson, where I teach you guys how to message teachers online. You guys will have a chance to message me today. Part of that will be writing in complete sentences. So I'll teach you a little bit about capitalization and punctuation there. Right now you're watching through the syllabus walkthrough video to get a better understanding of our course. I'll also give you guys a little mini devotion inside of this video. We'll tackle the messaging your teacher's assignment in our next video here. So I'm going to go back here a little bit. You'll notice for your syllabus walkthrough, I've attached our syllabus one more time here that you can click the view button on or click it to download it right to your computer or phone. What I did for mine is I opened it up in a new tab. I went into the course materials white folder in our Schoology course and opened it up here just to make it easier for me to walk through. Can I full screen? I cannot. But in any sense, I want to walk through parts of our syllabus together just to give you a better understanding of how we're going to build our thinking, reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills in Applied English. Mission statement and course description you can read on your own. Really just gives you an idea on what this class is like. One thing to note right here is that Applied English is a year long, so you'll either have me all year or me this semester and Mrs. Tan next semester. But throughout the year, we're working on the same skills. So it's a mix of study skills, as we're going to start next week. Reading comprehension, so reading skills. Grammar and composition, so our writing skills largely. Speech presentation, speaking and listening skills. And basic literature analysis, so going a little bit deeper than comprehension. How do we understand characters and setting and themes and symbolism and those kinds of things inside of fiction and poetry. Course objectives, I'm not going to walk through all of these bullet points because that would take forever. But I do have 6 jobs that I've given myself as your teacher in Applied English. So the way I look at it, these are my 6 responsibilities for you and your lives this semester and this year really. Number 1 is growing in your relationship with Jesus. This was that first question on your Do First quiz today. It's what's the most important aspect of Mr. Hantak's job? It is to be a resource for your faith life. And to kind of prove that, I want to bring in some scripture here. It's 1 Timothy 4:8. For while bodily training, some translations say physical training, is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come, that is eternal life. It's good for me to teach you English skills, for us to practice and build on those 5 English skills this semester and this year, because they will help you be successful in your future. But it's like physical training. It's like working out your muscles, right? They make you strong for your future, but beyond that, there's an eternal future, hopefully in heaven, right? We also want to practice godliness. It's because it's of value in every way. It's eternally valuable. Bodily training, physical training, even mental training is valuable for our success and for our temporary lives on earth. But we also need to be practicing our godliness for our eternities too. I think of it this way, right? As a Christian, I can help you guys build up great eternal lives, which is so much more important than building up great temporary lives, temporary futures. I want to build up both, and I have the opportunity to build up both, but I never want to forget about the role that I can play in building up your eternal futures. You guys should know I became a Christian in high school. I was raised in the church, but I didn't really understand anything or care much until I got to high school and started making friends who were legit Christians, which got me interested in who Jesus was. But I also had some adults, some teachers, some church workers, some of my friends' parents who really invested in me as well. And that's my main inspiration for becoming a teacher, especially at Milwaukee Lutheran High School, where we've got a mix of students who know Christ well, and just need that extra encouragement, that supporter along the way, to help them live that Christian life even better. And we also have students who maybe don't know Christ very well. Maybe their parents chose to send them to a good school like Milwaukee Lutheran, and here I have the opportunity to share Jesus, maybe to people who have never really heard of him or really don't know him well. That's a responsibility I take seriously, and it's a responsibility I enjoy. And I really want to be able to make more Ben Hantax, right? There's a lot of you maybe in the same spot that I was when I was a freshman, sophomore in high school. And it's a really blessed opportunity to tell people about the Jesus who has changed my life entirely. More about that as we go through the semester. So, I think the most important way that I can help you with your faith is just having an open door policy. So later on in this lesson, I will teach you how to message me, teach you how to reach out to me. If you have any questions whatsoever about faith, about life, I'll do my best to answer them. I just want you to know that you can trust me. And I am working to build trust, because I know that trust doesn't necessarily build overnight. So just know that I'm here for you. Feel free to reach out to me. I hope to build trust with all of you that I can handle your questions, those things that are going on in your lives. The other 5 really have to do with our temporary skills, right? So there's our eternal future, but there's also those future skill building things as well, like we talked about with the 5 English skills. Study skills, we'll start looking at next week. That's a mix of organization, study habits, test-taking strategies, those kinds of things that we'll practice throughout the year. Reading skills, both comprehension, so demonstrate reading comprehension, but also things like theme, plot, literary devices. Writing skills, there's a split between smaller informal exercises, so like the message that you'll send me later today is just a couple of sentences, so we'll work on basic things like sentence writing. We'll also build up through formal essay assignments, so how do you take sentences and paragraphs and build them together to make cohesive essays. We'll work on those throughout the year. Same thing with speaking and listening. There's a split between larger formal speech assignments, especially in semester 2. Hopefully we are back face-to-face 5 days a week because speech assignments are much easier to do in class. But we'll also work on smaller speaking and listening skills in classroom discussions. Discussions are probably my favorite activity in class. Excuse me. And then really the last skill that we'll build throughout the semester, throughout the year, is vocab and grammar. And instead of doing like one big block of vocabulary or one big block of grammar, we'll be sprinkling it in throughout the semester. So 10 new vocab words every 2 weeks. We'll start that up in a few weeks here. We'll practice grammar concepts such as parts of speech, agreement, and punctuation along the way. I've got 6 jobs. Those 6 expectations, you've got 4. So having an attitude of respect is an obvious one, whether we're in the classroom or online. Just make sure that you're being respectful to me, to yourself, to others. Completing coursework on time. I put deadlines for all of our common assignment types here for you to read through. Really the main thing I want to say now is that if you're having trouble getting something in on time, maybe you're having technical difficulties, or maybe things are really rough at home with sharing devices and those kinds of things, just let me know. So communicate your circumstance with me. It's also wise to communicate with the attendance office so the entire school, all of your teachers, all of your administrators know what's going on, that we can work things out with you that way. Third rule is honesty. Don't share materials with other, or don't share assignments with other classmates. If I catch you cheating on any assignment, like let's say you shared the exact same paragraph for a paragraph writing assignment, you will get a 0 for that assignment, no retakes. So you can really just avoid that problem entirely by not cheating, not sharing work or those kinds of things. Your work should be your own. Plagiarism is something I'll teach on later on in the semester. Preparation we'll talk about later as well. This is really for when in-person class begins. I will send out a message with this once we get the okay to come back to school in person. Grade breakdown was also on your quiz today about what percentage of the course is formative and which is summative. 60% formative, so most of, I should say the better half, the better majority of how you're graded in applied English is based on how we practice. Formatives are practice activities like our do firsts, any sort of worksheets or practice activities we do, even online. Online discussions, so smaller writing assignments, smaller presentations, most quizzes are going to be formatives, and 60% of the overall grade. The other percentage is summatives, so 40% of the course is based on larger tests of skill, essays, larger presentations, especially in semester 2. Any larger tests, maybe a couple of quizzes will be summatives. Please note that even though there are fewer of these in the gradebook, they are typically larger in their point value. So that 40%, even though it's smaller than 60, is still a pretty sizable chunk of your overall grade in applied. That's why we focus on study skills. I want you to feel ready for tests and presentations and essays. Extra credit. So 2 methods for extra credit. Please know that extra credit in this class is used to recover lost points. So let's say, I'll just make up a student, I'll call her Jada, right? Let's say Jada, let's say we're 8 weeks into the semester. Jada has lost maybe 15 points overall in her formative assessments, and maybe an additional 10 in summative assessments, right? So let's say as she's earning extra credit, she ends up with 18 extra credit points. She ends up with 18 extra credit points at the 12-week grading period, right? Of those 18, the first 15 are going to cover up those lost 15 points from her formatives, and then she still has 3 points left over that are going to get tacked on to a summative. That's huge. That's an incentive for you not to lose points on formatives, even though they're practice activities, because those lost points getting added back onto tests and essays and presentations have a huge impact on your overall grade. There are 2 ways to earn extra credit, so independent reading is one of them. If you're reading a book outside of class, I'll give you 10 points for the first book you complete every 6 weeks, 3 points for each additional book. So let's say Jada reads, between weeks 6 and 12, she reads 3 books. That's 10, 13, 16 points extra credit that are going to get tacked on to lost points in the gradebook. While we're online, the way that you'll need to prove to me that you actually read is just to meet with me in Microsoft Teams so we can talk through the book that you read, or books that you read. The other way is through the Cave of Orios. I'm going to show this a little more in a later lesson just for time today. But if you look in course materials, there is a folder titled the Cave of Orios. It's a series of practice activities, almost entirely grammar practice, that as you work through, it rewards you with greater amounts of extra credit for every 6 levels you master. So let's say you finish levels 1 through 6 by following the directions I give you there. That gives you 7 extra credit points. Then you work through, 7 through 12, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 6. So you finish level 12. That's an additional 9 points, so 16 overall, and it just keeps building from there. I'll show that in a later lesson because I don't exactly have time for it right now. I hope you've had a chance to look through the semester calendar. Really just 3 units. So you'll notice weeks 1 through 6, we're looking at short stories, some really basic grammar and study skills just to make sure you feel prepared for high school. Notice that grading period ends with a test. That test is going to cover a short story, so I'll give you a brand new short story to read and analyze on that test. It's also going to cover the grammar that we focused on in the first few weeks. It's also going to cover vocabulary from the first few weeks as well. Weeks 7 through 13, so a bit of a larger unit, a 7-week unit on writing. We'll start with sentences, just a few weeks focused on the parts of speech and how we build sentences. Parent-teacher conferences are inside of that little mini unit. We'll do a week on building paragraphs out of sentences, and then we'll spend a month, really most of the month of November, focused on writing essays. So we'll do an essay together. Our literary analysis we will write entirely together. And then I'll have you write your own essay on an expository prompt that you'll get in mid-November. The last 5 weeks, it's really 4 weeks and a couple of days just because of Thanksgiving in there, will be on poetry. So we'll learn the basics first, then we'll practice what we know about poetry as we read a wonderful little book called The House on Mango Street. The end of the semester will be some sort of test, essay, or both. Just kind of depends on what kind of format we're in at that point in December. That will cover House on Mango Street. So your final will cover skills from the entire semester, but most of the questions are going to actually come from House on Mango Street. Online presence-wise, we're going to cover this much more in our next video, but how to access things. Obviously, you know how to use Schoology, but make sure that you are learning for Schoology how to access your calendar on the right-hand side. This is a good way to look at what's coming up in the future in Applied English. You can also look at the grade book on the left-hand side to get a feel for what was in the past, to check past work, check to see how you did, check to see if you missed anything. Besides emailing me, Schoology's Messenger is great. I'll show that later on in our next video too. Microsoft Teams, I'll demonstrate in the next video. Schoology's Messenger is good if you have a really quick question for me, but if you really need help with an assignment, Microsoft Teams is the place to go. You can chat with me, you can audio call or video chat me if you really need help. That's going to be the best way to get one-on-one help from me. Again, I'll demonstrate that in our next video. And then I'm also on YouTube. So my handle for YouTube is Mr. Hantak, MLHS. Like, comment, subscribe. It feels weird for me saying that because I've never really been a YouTuber before. But this is, I mainly use my YouTube page as an extra space to post these sorts of videos just to make them more accessible for you. But I'm also collecting just a playlist of liked videos for other resources in English if you need help with any specific part of English instruction that you can look through just to learn more if you want to learn more. Another way to contact me is to email me, bhantak@milwaukeelutheran.org. I will demonstrate that in our next video as well, so I'm not spending too much time here. I hope you have a better feel of what we cover in Applied English. Again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please contact me using Schoology or my email or Microsoft Teams. Again, I'm going to demonstrate those a little more in our next video so you know how to message me, contact me, ask me questions.